Hey guys, once again welcome back to the Goan Chess Trio. This is Anurag, and today we shall be covering a game played out between Ding and Magnus in the grand finale of the Magnus Carlsen Invitational Tour, which began on the 9th and will go on until the 20th of August. Quite a long one, but we'll try to cover up most of the interesting games and wild games or so in through videos, and today we'll have a look at one of them. So let's just get started with the game. The game began with e4. Well, Ding playing e4, c5, knight f3, d6, d4. I'm sure everybody has seen this before. So knight into d4, knight f6, knight c3, and a6, and we're heading into the Najdorf. F3 tried out by Ding. We have seen Nepo trying out Rook G1 very frequently recently, and pretty interesting. He got some good results with it too. H3 also played out by a lot of players. F3 was seldom seen in the Legends of Chess, but F3 played out by Ding. After E6 comes Bishop E3. So one thing to note here is Ding did not really have a very upbeat tournament in the previous tournament that he played, the Legends of Chess. So it was really interesting to see his gameplay today, and first game against Magnus, he turns out to have a very good result. So let's have a look at what happens. After Bishop E3, H5, B5 is played more often here, but H5 is getting, H5 is, the idea is to stop G4 coming immediately, and it is getting popular. It's not a very out of the world move here early in the opening. It is a very common occurrence in Najdorf. So Queen D2, Bishop e7, you can clearly see that he was intending to castle on the queen side, and here we see b5. Now since black has already played h5, he will probably delay castling early in the game. That is standard, because you don't want to run into an unnecessarily very strong attack because of your pawn on h5. So castling was delayed, b5, and it's again a very common thing to advance your pawns on the queen side here in the Sicilian, especially if you see a king here. So a3 to stop anything to do with b4, bishop d7. Now this move, I was watching this game and I was not really convinced with this move. I can understand Magnus' idea here. His plan is that later on he will be looking to play something like b4. So maybe a5 b4, or maybe something with rook b8 and then look for b4. That could be the idea for Magnus here, and thus maybe he felt like bishop on b7 could get in the way of the b file. Will probably block the b file there. That could be an issue. Let me just quickly get the arrow here. It could be an issue. So maybe that was on his mind, and thus he went with bishop d7. Although I think bishop b7 followed with something like knight d7, knight c5, or knight e5, knight c4. Like many different ideas here would be a better approach here. More flexibility. But Magnus chooses bishop d7. And after king b1, again a very common move, just safeguarding your king. Nothing strange, nothing special, just safeguarding your king off the c file. So knight c6, knight into c6. So now black will maybe look for this, maybe look for b4. So white just completely shuts down that and plays knight into c6, takes away that knight immediately, bishop into c6. And here Ding follows a very interesting idea which I did like in the game, which was bishop f4. Sorry, here bishop f4, and this gives Magnus a choice. Like he has to decide what he wants to do. The d6 pawn is under attack, so you need to take care of it, of course. There are two good ways that black can take care of it. One is d5 and one is e5, and black needs to make the choice. Generally, you see black playing d5 if he gets the chance in Sicilian positions. But here, what happens is after d5, white will play this move queen e3, and let's say he's pinning this, and later look for, let's say, e5 for expanding on the queen side, king side, with an attack coming there. So okay, Carlsen decided that e5 would have been completely fine here, and I understand his idea, but I like what Ding did. After e5, he played this move bishop g5, and the idea now is very clear. Bishop f4 was to provoke black playing e5, and then he has this d5 square completely under control. So now what he does is he just takes away the defender of that square, the f6 knight. Queen b6, and immediately, not even waiting for anything, just grabs that knight on f6, bishop f6, and knight d5. And this shows the confidence that Ding has in this position, because now he has complete control of the light squares. Black definitely can do bishop to d5 like he did in the game. That enters a position which is opposite color bishops, and very good chances for the side defending to hold a draw in opposite color bishop's endgame. So let's say after queen into d5, rook c, let's say king e7. Let's just take a small pause here and think of what black should do and what white should do. So if you can see the bishop on f6, not very ideal because it is blocked. So unless the bishop somehow managed to shift to this diagonal here, basically maybe bishop e3, bishop g5, bishop e3, bishop c5, or somewhere, maybe the bishop can become productive. At the moment, it looks like a tall pawn, although I would shy from saying that right now. On the other hand, white's bishop, let's have a look at what possibilities that has. You could definitely go with something with g3. Let me just change it, bishop h3, and take over this diagonal. You can keep it as it is on this diagonal and maybe later on play a4 to exploit the a6 pawn in the endgame, of course, not right now with the queens on the board. And the third possibility is you can shift it onto this diagonal here. Let's say after c3, bishop b3, and that diagonal attacking f7. It's an ultra strong diagonal. That's the best thing white can get. If he manages to shift the bishop to b3, he will be very, very, very strong here. What should black do in such a position? What you should do in this as black is basically try to exchange the queens of the board. Try to exchange as many major pieces of the board. If you end up with bishop against bishop, most likely you have very good chances to hold a draw, especially if the material is equal. But even in positions where black is a pawn down, he can still hold a draw if it is opposite color bishop. So that is something to keep in mind. c4 played out. Now c4 was a very gutsy choice here by Ding, by the way, because like I said, you are immediately opening up the b file and allowing some attack to come. But a while ago I mentioned an important point. If you go bc4 and allow bishop c4, you just have the ultra strong diagonal there. Rook fc, rook hf8, defending this is not what you want to do with that rook and the king. Not very ideally placed and not very good. So white just plays rook d3, either doubles up here, or if after rook b8 you can even play rook b3, and white is already looking quite good here. So this is a major problem. If he goes with something like b4, we have a nice tactical idea to solve the problem, and that is c5. So the problem for black is if he captures queen into c5, out comes queen b7, sorry. And here you have either g3 and bishop h3 coming in, or you have rook c1 followed by bishop c4, which is interesting. You have a number of ideas. I think this is the strongest idea, with bishop h3 being nearly unstoppable. Pretty strong attack here. So if you go d into c5, by the way, here all you have to do is bishop c4, and like I said, f7 is under a very strong attack. This time though, impossible to defend it because queen d7 as a simple one move checkmate that you run into here, and that's the point of c5. You wanted to open up the d file so that you clear that d6 pawn, you have d7 as a mate there. So since that is not possible, Magnus decides and opts to give up that pawn and continue with rook c8. And after winning this pawn, now we can see a major change in the position. Opposite color bishops, but two connected pawns. Let's say after rook c5, let's say a b5, even if you take queen b5 and bishop b5. Although the queens are off the board, we have two connected pawns here to play with in the endgame. And that will most likely help us triumph, and white should win this. He should be able to convert it. So after c into b5, rook c5, definitely going for counterplay ideas. Queen b3, a into b5, wins the pawn back temporarily. And again, Ding plays a very strong move here, which is a4. Again, we are focusing on the same idea that, okay, this is a simple pin. So ba4 would be very bad, of course. So queen into b6, winning the queen. And once you do b4, once again, you have this beautiful diagonal, not the a3 f8, the b3 f7 diagonal, and to play with. And again, rook f8, not very ideal to play the rook out on f8. White can just do this. Even if he exchanges one pair of rooks, he still has the outside pass pawn to go with. So not really an ideal position here for black. He's in a very passive state. So what Magnus opts for going is he just sacrifices the b5 pawn. And white just goes and captures bishop into b5, by the way. But the point is he's trying to go for counterplay. So if you cannot defend the position actively, passively, then you can try to go actively. And actively is counterplay. Passively is you're trying to hold everything together. So here after bishop g5, opening up some ideas here. And once again, this bishop is not doing anything on f6. You're trying to get it back into the game here. And here also, a few moves after this, Ding did play a very nice game without making silly mistakes or like very good technique shown here by Ding. So he played rook d3, definitely looking for rook d1. Now some players have got excited here that rook c1 is coming and I'm definitely getting something. So rook into c1, rook into c1, king a to queen g1, and they think that that's a mate on a1. Unfortunately, I would also have been too excited about this, but unfortunately queen b4 is an ultra strong move once again, and attacking as well as taking care of everything, because after rook a1, king b3, a very safe square for the king, cannot really be attacked from anywhere. d1 is covered, a3 is covered, and you also have to deal with queen into d6. That's a mate. Queen into d6 is a mate immediately. So black will have to probably shamelessly go back with the queen to b6, which is not really the thing which black wants to do here. He wants to look for counterplay. And okay, the other way you can do is definitely queen d1, which is, I'm sure not many people will want to do here, sacrifice the queen and gamble with their chances like this. So queen b6 is basically forced, and after that white should be able to win easily. So that was not working. So Magnus, what he does is goes with h4, and maybe again looking for some ideas with h3. Ding is not taking any of that, plays rook d1, attacks d6, and now black plays rook c1 check. This time though, you could have taken on c1. Ding could have definitely taken, and the same thing could have come with queen g1 and queen b4. It's the same position, only with h4 added on the board. Not a worry, but Ding has the option of going king a2, because now the d1 rook was defended. So rook into d1, he can very well just capture with either piece. So he decides to go for king a2 here. Rook into d1, and then rook into d1. Bishop f4 and h3. Again, this is not something that white would normally do, but considering that here we have two connected pawns, you're most likely going to be playing on the other side of the board. It is not really important for us to like keep an idea to open on the king side. Like generally you keep upon h3 because you want to do g3, you want to keep a chance to open up. Here Ding will be entirely focused here on pushing these two pawns, so he makes h3 here. This does allow black plays bishop e3. This does allow some further ideas, but it's too slow to get the king into the game here, and it'll take a lot of time, and these two pawns are going to be soon on their way towards queening, so probably not enough time to do that. So bishop e3, bishop c4, and this is what I was talking about. Good technique shown here by Ding. Exchanges the queens and makes things much easier. So what is black looking for? Counterplay. What piece does he need? Most likely the queen. And Ding just snaps it off the board. So bishop f7 is a strong idea, and black cannot refuse the exchange. So bishop f7 and queen e6, and things are not looking that great. So Magnus goes with queen into b3, king into b3 by Ding, and then bishop d4. Once again, some ideas with rook b8. So unless Ding does something crazy like a5 and allows rook b8, rook into b2, he should be okay. So he doesn't really make that mistake. Rook d2, f5. So now the point is, I told you king f6 is too slow. So Magnus needs to find counterplay, goes for f5. Either you play passively and if you can hold, or you go for active counterplay. Here Magnus is short of time and needs to do something. So he goes for f5. Rook c2, f into e4, f into e4, king f6, and bishop b5. Once again, not allowing neat checks. And again, the rook exchange is okay here because the king is quite far away. If the king was somewhere on a5, maybe black would shy away from exchanging the exchanging the rooks immediately, because it will be difficult to push the pawns. Black can set up some fortresses. Here you're just rolling the pawn pretty immediately. So rook into c2, king into c2 will probably not be enough with b4, a5 coming pretty soon here. Black's idea is way too slow. For example, let's just have a quick look. King f4. Let's say I play bishop c6. Even if you get this and I push a5, there is a good thing, bishop d7 can still hold. So you can clearly picture how slow black's idea is. By the time black gets his pawns rolling, white is already queening. So not going to be enough time on the board. So Magnus goes with rook b8, keeping the rooks, but that is clearly not enough. And again, Ding shows good technique. King b4, king g5, a5, pushing the pawn, king f4, and again not allowing any counterplay. You could have been rash with a6 and gone for something like that, but rook e2, just defending the pawn, keeping it all simple. Rook c8, a6, bishop c5 check, king a5, king is hiding here, looking forward to push b4, bishop a7, and here b4 was probably winning. There was no need to do b3, but Ding again shows good technique and tries to maybe keep it as simple as possible, as easy and simple. So b3, not allowing any counterplay. Maybe an idea to go bishop c4, king b5 if he needs it. And rightly after rook c1, bishop c4 cuts off this rook from going back, and now the king can easily progress towards b7. Rook a1, king b5, rook b1, that doesn't really do much. But if you play b4 though, bishop c5, like this is what you don't want to fall for, and Ding did not do that. So very good play by Ding, very good technique. And after king c6, bishop c5, king b7, rook a1, white just give the final blow b4, because now if you capture a7 and you have to give up the rook to prevent the queening, which is probably not enough, never going to be enough actually. And if you go with something like this, all I have to do is just push the pawn, which will end the game pretty soon. So very good display. It was not like Black blundered or something. Ding played a very nice game and managed to outplay Magnus here in this one. So very nice display, very good technique, especially coming from a tournament where he had a very bad tournament actually, I would say, in the Legends of Chess just a few days ago. He came back very strong, so we are hoping for some good games from Ding in this semi-final here against Magnus. Now, if you did enjoy this video, do hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, press the bell icon to stay updated, and I will see you soon in the next one. It won't be too long, I promise. And have a nice day until then. Goodbye.